Hello and welcome to another episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host this week, Ashwin. I'm joined by DJ. As has been the case for the last few weeks, because of timing of recording this, Varun hasn't been able to join us, but hopefully he'll be back next week. DJ, let me start by saying it's been a whirlwind of a weekend, right? It's March 6th when we record this, probably March 7th or later when people are listening to this. March 4th of 2022 was supposed to be a day of celebration. Edges and Sledges celebrates our 4th anniversary, which we posted about, and incredibly thankful that we've been able to make it 4 years. We have great listeners. Virat Kohli celebrated his 100th test. But of course, a tough week in the hearts and minds of all listeners or all cricket fans across the globe as Shane Warne was pronounced dead at just age 52. One of the icons, one of the legends of the game. And honestly, it's a little overwhelming to even try to talk about it, to try to cover it, to try to do justice to everything that happened. So while there's a lot to talk about, we'll get to a lot of it. DJ, I'd be remiss if I didn't start with, how are you doing in the midst of the Shane Warne news? The cricketing fraternity across the globe has been struggling a little, but also remembering fond things, and just an absolute shock, right? He was tweeting about the death of Rod Marsh, which is another big loss in the world of cricket, but probably less close, transparently, to you and me because we didn't watch him as much. But rest in peace to both those incredible Australian cricketers, Rod Marsh and Shane Warne. But how are you doing? It's been a whirlwind week, right?
It's been a really tough weekend actually, because it was all going well till this Friday, sort of. I mean, Kohli had batted in his 100th Test match in the first innings, and the worst thing to happen on that Friday in the morning was actually him getting out for 45. But I mean, I'm struggling to come to terms, like many of you and many of our listeners and people all over the world who love the game of cricket are just struggling to come to terms with the loss of Shane Warne, and the outpouring of love has been beautiful. I mean, he is somebody who's transcended the world of cricket, whether you're Indian, you're Pakistani, you're English. Of course, the Australians feel the loss particularly keenly, whether you're West Indian, whether you've... I mean, he was bigger than the game of cricket. He was larger than life. He had his flaws. I think I recently watched a documentary on Amazon Prime called Shane, and I must have mentioned it on the podcast as well about him. It's surreal. It really is surreal, and all I can say is, and there's been lots of really amazing articles written about it. Mark Nicholas has spoken about it. There've been tributes pouring in from all over the world, but all I can say is that it's been a privilege to have watched him play in my lifetime. I mean, he is, and the best comparison I can find to this is he's the Don Bradman of spin bowling. Like, he is the greatest exponent of that art that there will probably ever be. I mean, we didn't have the pleasure. There's some grainy videos of Don Bradman batting, but we got to watch Warne in all his magnificent glory, right? Like, you go back and there's a treasure trove of videos, a treasure trove of magic, a treasure trove of tricks, sledging, art, sleight of hand. It's the bending cricket games to his will, and that's all recorded for posterity and forever and ever. So as cricket fans, we are privileged to have lived in the Warne era. We've lost out on his punditry. I've been critical of his commentary in the past, to be honest, because I thought it too boisterous, but that's what he was. There were no half measures with the man. He lived life. He lived 52 years, but lots of people have said he's probably filled that 52 years with 104 years worth of living, right? He's had a full life, and I mean, your heart goes out to his family, your heart goes out to all his fans. He's changed the game of cricket. Leg spin was out of fashion. Everybody, each one of us has tried to copy his action, right? Unsuccessfully. I used to bowl leg spin as a kid as well when I started off, when I was a young man. And what he brought to the game for somebody like me is like, when you're a kid, you always thought, why don't you pitch the ball outside leg stump and try and bowl the batsman behind his legs? Shane Warne was the only person who did that on purpose. He was a magician with the ball. He had personality when he stood at the top of his mark to bowl. You couldn't be on your phone watching them, like scrolling or whatever. If he played in this era, in the era of DRS, he would have taken 1,000 wickets. As it was, he took 700 wickets and he was the first man to get there. And he got there at the MCG at his home ground. I mean, it's unbelievable that he's gone. And it feels like a part of childhood has died for all of us, right? And it's just, I didn't think it would affect me this much, to be honest. But it's the shock, and it's all the memories: the Sachin versus Warne, the Lara versus Warne, the ball to Herschel Gibbs, sledging Daryl Cullinan, even batting. I mean, he was a competitor, and a person with that much talent, that much hard work, and that much will to win. We're never going to see the like of him again, and I'm going to say that. I'm saying it on record. You're never going to see another Shane Warne ever again.
I mean, feel like that's as fitting a tribute as we can possibly give. So really, really well said. And yeah, I don't know, there's something about when you start to see the generation of cricketers we grew up watching, the legends, the icons, it hits you a little bit harder. But DJ, in the spirit of like celebrating and thinking of fond memories, which is what Shane Warne would have done in that larger than life character that he was. And he was a maverick. He was controversial. There was stuff going on. There was always news. There was always headlines. But I'm just going to ask you, and I'll go next. But you talked about all the very, very, very many fond memories. Let me ask you to pick one, right? What's your favorite or the best kind of Shane Warne memory you have? And if you really struggle, I might give you two, but let's start with one.
So of course there's the Gatting ball, right? That changed cricket forever, the relationship between England and Australia forever, Shane Warne forever. And that was the first ball he bowled in England in an Ashes series. And he went on to dominate them for the next 13 years. But for me, actually, the magic ball that he bowled was Andrew Strauss in the 2005 series. And he bowled many magic balls. I mean, you just need to go on to Rob Linda's channel and watch that. But for me, the Andrew Strauss ball is even more remarkable because he's left-handed. And the ball pitches outside off stump. And Strauss watches the ball go across him and hit his leg stump. Strauss has left the ball outside off stump. It is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. I mean, Warne, that's his bowling moment for me. But for me, they say he's the best captain Australia ever had. He's the first. We are a podcast that focuses on Indian cricket and the IPL. Who won the IPL for the very first time? He was a coach. He was a captain. He was retired from international cricket. Shane Warne made the underdogs, the guys no one gave a shot. Rajasthan Royals were nowhere. They were the first champions of the IPL. Shane Warne led them to that title. And he discovered the man we're going to talk about later, really. I mean, he discovered and gave him his name. He called him a rockstar. Ravindra Singh Jadeja. And it is a fitting tribute by Jadeja to the man who gave him his nickname, the Rockstar. So that's I don't know what to say. It's too emotional. It's just too raw still. It's been 3-4 days now and it hasn't sunk in.
I think you did a great job summarizing them. I think between the ball of the century or whatever it was called to Mike Gatting and the IPL wins, etc. The thing that I loved about watching Shane Warne is almost the things that don't make the highlights packages, right? The wickets he got were not always, oh my gosh, unplayable delivery. You absolutely couldn't have seen it coming, all that stuff. The wickets he got were often 4th, 5th, 6th balls of the over. And he would talk about how bowling is like a chess match. He would talk about how it's all about setup. It was not just about the wicket-taking ball. It was never just about the wicket-taking ball. It was about the 1, 2, 3, 4 balls preceding it. And sometimes you'd see when in a test match, a batsman got a single off of one, he would be upset because he had a plan. He was setting a trap. He was in the midst of setting a trap. And if a misfield or something gave a single, then he'd have to start that trap all over against the other batsman. And I don't remember who the batsman was. I probably should. But there's this great clip from limited overs T20 type cricket. You'll probably remember who it is.
Big Bash. On the mic. I know which one you're talking. Brendan McCullum.
It was McCullum. He was on the mic. Right, like in these T20 tournaments, we sometimes give bowlers mics or fielders, wicketkeepers, batsmen mics and stuff. And he's on the mic, and the commentator says, hey Warren, what are you going to do? What are you thinking next? He's like, well, based on how he swept the second last ball, based on how he's been moving his feet, etc., I think he's likely to sweep. So I think I'm going to try to slide it in there around, see if I can get it, just around his legs and just bowl it a little faster. And exactly to script, Brendan McCullum, premeditated, gets down to sweep the ball. Warren has bowled a faster one sliding in, and he gets him bowled. And you just look at that and say, what a genius, right? He was like, he could have been wrong, and that's fine. It wouldn't have mattered. And McCullum could have done something different or gone on the back foot, but he knew, he predicted based on all his years of tactical thinking. And it links back to why Rajasthan won. And again, all cricketers are big characters. Warren was a maverick. We wore his heart on his sleeve. He did some things a lot of people weren't very proud of, but the tactical genius that he displayed, just hats off and unbelievable. So, DJ, any closing words on Shane Warne?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is, of course, he was the guy, as you talked, he had the tactics and all of that down, but he was a person that we all associated with. He was, because he had the common touch. He was like the common man. He was slightly overweight. He didn't look like a cricketer. He used to smoke. He liked a beer. He liked pizza. These are not things you associate with like top level international sportsmen. But he was at the top of his game, and yet he retained that common touch. Now, one of the incidents that my boss is Australian, and he's obviously heartbroken as well. He's a big Shane Warne fan. He's written in saying he went to a Hampshire versus Kent game down in Canterbury, and so obviously Shane Warne was at Hampshire for a while in 2006. And Shane Warne actually signed my boss's shirt that my boss had worn all through the 05 Ashes. He remembers the day well because it was just another domestic day for them, and when it ended, Shane Warne stayed out signing autographs for kids and adults. And after about an hour, one of the other Hampshire players had to come and get him because they were all showered, they were on the bus, and they'd waited for him for an hour. He had not even been into the dressing room. So he got onto the bus in his whites, not showered, grabbed a beer, and he went up the steps. And my boss was just like, he'd just done a full hour after a cricket game signing autographs. And there are thousands of these stories that are coming out. And it just shows that Warne didn't pretend to be anybody else. That was the great thing about him. He was with flaws and all, you loved him. You accepted him for his issues and his flaws. And that's it. And it's been unanimous across Twitter, across social media. It is, the tributes are still pouring in, and they continue to. Let's never forget Shane Warne. SK Warne will live forever.
Yeah, really, really well said. Thank you, DJ. It's hard to even move on and say, like, let's cover other stuff, but the show must go on, as they say, and it's been a big week in the world of cricket. So rest in peace, Shane Warne. We will vicariously live through your memories and YouTube clips and things for a long, long, long time to come. And like you said, we may never see a bowler like you, but show must go on. Let's talk a little bit about everything else going on in the world of cricket. And boy, has it been a big week. Lots going on. So we will start with covering the Women's World Cup a little bit. Then in the second half of the break, we'll talk about the two test matches going on, mostly India, Sri Lanka, a little bit of Pakistan, Australia. At the time of recording this, transparently, we were not expecting to record today because we thought, hey, it's going to be the end of day 3 of India, Sri Lanka. Let's wait one more day, 2 more days till the match is over and then record at the end. But obviously, we know the match is ended. But DJ, let's start with the ICC Women's World Cup 2022 that is kicked off in New Zealand. It is, at the time of recording this, 4 matches are done. It has been a heck of a start to this World Cup. Unbelievable start. I don't know about you. I get to watch mostly the first innings of the matches, of the day-night matches, and then the day matches, excuse me, I can watch most of them just because of timing, because they started either 4 p.m. or 7 p.m. my time. But I'm not going to spend too much time on all of them. I want to focus on the India game. But New Zealand versus West Indies. Unbelievable over. Unbelievable final over to start this match.
Deandra Dottin.
If Deandra Dottin comes in defending 6 runs in the last over, needs with, there were 7 down, so 3 wickets in hand. And the over goes 1 wicket, 1 wicket, and then wicket, the last of which was run out. And so it didn't even need all 6 balls, 5 balls, 2 runs, 3 wickets, 2 for the bowler, 1 run out. and the West Indies come out on top. I mean, talk about it as a great advert for the game of cricket and starting a World Cup strong. Did you get a chance to catch any of that? Did you watch the highlights of the last
Yeah,
game?
I did. I actually watched the last hour or so. So time zones work in a way that I get to watch the last bit of the day and night games because it's about 7:30 a.m. my time, so I get the last hour. What a fantastic last over. Apparently, she asked for the ball, and when she asked for the ball, they give it to her. And the New Zealand girls look like they panicked a little bit. I think they called the White Ferns. They seem to panic a little bit right at the end. But what an over. You can't take anything away from Deandra Dottin. Defending 6 of the last over. Absolutely brilliant. Nerveless. And yeah, well deserved as well. There was a great Yorker that was speared in. That was an excellent delivery, I thought, that got the LBW, which I thought got the well set batsman out. But yeah, it's a bit of an upset, I think, to start that off. And I think, and if I'm not wrong, I think Ian Smith was on commentary. Was also on commentary when New Zealand lost the men's World Cup final in 2019. So he's now presided over 2 back-to-back losses for New Zealand teams in ODI finals.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable start and heartbreaking for New Zealand, but enough time for them to try to bounce back if they want to make the playoffs. But second match was Bangladesh, South Africa. The Bangladesh women did a phenomenal job restricting South Africa to just 207, including at one point they were about 100 for 4, 120 odd for 5. But then unfortunately just couldn't get over the line with the bat. Some good bowling from the South Africans and ended up winning by 30 odd runs. So very disappointing because on paper, South Africa is the stronger side, but Bangladesh had a great opportunity after restricting them to 207. Then the third match of the tournament, Australia versus England, 2 incredibly like powerhouses of women's cricket. Australia comes out, makes 310. We got our first century of the tournament. I mean, Rachel Haynes, just a phenomenal cricketer, right? Meg Lanning makes 86, 310 for 3. I honestly all right, match is over. And then, by the way, England comes out to chase 0 for 1 in the first over. You think, all right, the match is over. Then you got your second century of the tournament. Nat Simmer makes 100 not out of just 85 balls. Tammy Beaumont makes 74. And England gets so close. I mean, 310. And England gets to 298 and falls short. So Australia are, of course, favorites to win by a long distance, an unbelievable side. But England, who are reigning champions here, showed that they're not going home without a fight. They're 298 and reigning champions, of course, in that heartbreaking final against the Indian women, right? So unbelievable match.
Yeah, and coming off the washes as well, they lost pretty badly to Australia for in those the women's Ashes. So
And for
yeah,
a
good
second,
game.
I was like, washes? Is that what they calling it?
Yeah, I was actually listening to the No Balls
Is that what they
podcast,
call it? The
which is
washes?
by Alex Hartley and Kate Cross, and I think they called it the Washes on that, which I thought was a pretty good name. But yeah, great game, great chase. Nat Scriver, man, 80 ball 100, right there. I think it was not out as
Unbelievable.
well. She was there at the end. So
Yeah.
great, cracking knock, and Tammy Beaumont back in form. So yeah, the England girls. Not off to the best start, but they'll take heart from their performance. They were not blown away by the Australians, who are honestly they are the favorites, right? Let's
Yeah, it does
yeah.
feel like we joke about the IPL being a tournament to see who meets CSK in the finals, but this feels like a tournament to see who's going to meet Australia in the
Yeah,
finals, right? Like
unless you
it's
have like a Herman 171 freak occurrence that put them out of the last one, it seems quite hard to. I mean, it'll be
yeah.
quite hard to beat them. Let's hope our girls can bring it home this time. Third time lucky.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about our girls. The fourth match was a big one, India versus Pakistan. No matter the tournament, no matter the place, no matter the setting, it's a huge match always, and it was a big one, right? And the Indian women went into bat first. It was a very interesting innings. I got to watch all of this one just because it was early enough for me on a weekend, and very interesting, right, DJ? I'll just run through how that went. But Shefali Verma, just a very, very bad run of form. Like I want to say it's gone back over almost a year at this point that she just hasn't been able to score runs. So disappointing, but it's very like an interesting seesaw, right? You lose a quick early wicket, then you get to a 90 odd run partnership between Deepti Sharma and Smriti, who looked good. Deepti making 40, Smriti making 52. And then from 96 for 1 at one stage in the 22nd over, it went the follow wickets went 96, 98, 108, 112, 114. Suddenly you're sitting here staring down the barrel at 114 for 6 with Smriti, Harman, Deepti, Richa Ghosh, and Mithali all back in the pavilion. And I was panicking at this point. So was social media. Twitter was losing their minds. 114 for 6. And then you talk about depth, right? At the crease, Sneh Rana and Pooja Vastrakar, who's made her debut 50. I think she was playing her debut World Cup match. First ever World Cup match. Made 67 off 59. By the way, at 67 in the 50th over, gets bowled. It with 6 balls in the match, gets bowled and is so angry at herself, right? Just shows you the kind of passion, the kind of commitment, despite saving your team from a very, very dire situation. And full credit to Sneh Rana as well, 53 off 48, not out. Unbelievable partnership, right? In any situation, DJ, 114 for 6 to end up 114 for 6 after 33 overs. To end up at 244 is a phenomenal recovery, right? So full credit to the lower order here.
It is an absolutely brilliant recovery. And it's not the first time Sneh Rana has done this, actually. If you remember the test match last year at Bristol, where I think she put on, she got 80 odd, if I'm not wrong. I mean, wow, what a number 8 to have, right? Like, I mean, clearly Pooja and Pooja Vastrakar and Sneh Rana had something special. I think they put on 122 in not very many overs, in 16 overs alone, right? Like it's a pretty quick partnership. I mean, 120 in 16 overs is maths is not the strongest part. How many?
No, but
how
I
many?
mean, it was 114
7-ish?
in the first. Yeah, it was 114 in the first 33 overs, and 120 in the next. 114 for 6, and then 120 for 1 in the next 16. Right, so they doubled the run rate after.
So about 8 runs an over as well, and I mean, with all those wickets down, it was a magnificent performance, and it almost felt like Smriti's 50 is going to go like in vain. Mithali couldn't get going. Harman couldn't get going. Harman's obviously been in great form. There are always people after Mithali and her strike rate. It's becoming a little bit like the MS Dhoni situation that developed in the 2019 World Cup. So hopefully she goes out in a slightly better way than he did, i.e. with the trophy in her hands. But yeah, I mean,
but that's the thing, right? I think
incredible.
you'll always get critics when you're 9 of 36 and are not able to pick up. She's a slow starter. There's no question about that. Anybody who's watched women's cricket will know that. But she normally is able to convert it to runs. And in this case, she wasn't able to.
Yeah.
But phenomenal defense by the bowlers as well, right? Again, a lot of critics of us being 114 for 6, etc. Gaikwad looked great in both the warm-ups and came out, picked up a 4 for it, including the first wicket. It was interesting. Like, you give credit to Gaikwad, but in the first, I think it was after 7 overs, the Pakistan women were 8 for 0. So no wicket, but you need to be going at, 5 runs and over to chase 250 odd, 244. You're running at 1 run and over after 7 overs, right? So full credit to, I guess it's Jhulan and Meghna who were opening the bowling for keeping it so tight early on and then just set the stage. So Gaikwad picked up 4. Not a lot to write home about for the Pakistani batters, right? A couple of people came in, made 15, 20 odd runs, but 137. So DJ, while it wasn't the first 30 odd overs we wanted from our batters, at the end of the day, 107 run victory over Pakistan in the opening match of the World Cup, we would take that in a heartbeat, right?
100%. You would take that in a heartbeat. And it was a convincing win. But for me, the best moment of the game was actually after the game. Footage has emerged of the Indian players playing, I think, with Bisma Maroof's baby. So there's a few Indian players out there. It was just a really heartwarming moment. You saw Rizwan and Kohli during the Rizwan, Babar and Kohli during the India-Pakistan game. So in this world where you've got neighbors having issues with neighbors, to put it very mildly, it was a nice video to watch.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Women's World Cup will be going basically through the end of March into early April. Next match before we see you next time will be Thursday, New Zealand versus India. It's going to be big. And then Saturday, India versus West Indies. So 2 big games coming up. Hopefully India's women can find, the top order more than anything, can find a little bit more form. And it's going to be great. But DJ, with that, we're going to take a quick break. We will come back to talk a little bit about the Test cricket and a couple of other fun things happening in the world of Indian cricket and journalism. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita discuss the rise of audio erotica and leadership dynamics at Indigo Airlines. Do you love board games? The Simplified Gang have a fun chat with Zain Memon, creator of the political strategy board game Shasan. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk analyze India's response to rare diseases on the occasion of Rare Diseases Day. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina explains the concepts of asexuality and aromanticism. And on the Musafir Stories traveler, Tanisha Guin explores West Bengal's hill station Mirik with Saif and Faiza. So, on a personal note, I wanted to let you all know that this week marks the 7th anniversary since I started IVM. I'm eternally grateful to the team we have here, especially Kavita Rajwade and Tejas Sringarpure, who have been here since the beginning. They've seen the struggles, our eventual acquisition by Pratilipi, and our continued struggles to make podcasting a large and thriving part of the media industry. We have the best hosts in the world, and I have to say that I'm so glad and so grateful that they have chosen to work with us. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to you, the millions of folks who have heard or watched our content. All I can say is, you ain't seen nothing yet. I hope you join us as we continue this journey. In the meanwhile, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening to. You can also check us out on YouTube. To get a list of all of our channels, you can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where you can go to all the channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, Max Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to the Ravindra Jadeja podcast. I feel like I now have set this precedent of naming our show. Of course, I'm just joking. This is the Edges and Sledges Cricket podcast if you're just joining. But man, I feel like we need to name this episode the Ravindra Jadeja podcast, right? Lots happening in the world of cricket. India versus Sri Lanka, first test match. So much to talk about Jadeja. Lots to talk about a couple other things. But let me start with quickly team selection, DJ. A little bit of a surprise there, right? One, we went with 3 spinners, which I guess is not totally uncharacteristic from a bowling standpoint. 3 spinners, Bumrah and Shami. I think I called that. I don't know if you called 2, but anyway, we were close enough. But the big choice was to go Mayank and Rohit opening. So Shubman Gill missing out. Shreyas Iyer got a slot, but he was slotted in at 6, which is interesting. And Hanuma Vihari got to bat at 3, which is a very interesting, Pujara-esque backfill. So do you want to talk to me quickly about how you felt about India's team selection?
I mean, it was always going to be a case of wanting to fit. There are lots of contenders for those slots, let's be clear. Vihari was always going to play, to my mind. He's the natural sole successor to the mix of Rahane and Pujara. He can bat in both their styles, almost. So Vihari was always going to play, and I like the way he batted at number 3. I think he plays that domestic cricket as well and averages over 60. So no qualms for me there. Iyer was always going to fill in for me at number 5 as well, given he scored 100 in the last test match that he played. The surprise for me was Mayank making it over Gill. And you can understand the thinking there. He scored 150 in the last test match he played in India, right? So fair enough. So no complaints really. I was just hoping to see Shubman Gill back in, but I'm a big Mayank fan as well. So disappointed he got in and didn't go on to sort of cement his place. So he'll be looking at that as a bit of a missed opportunity. But yeah, no issues with the batting selection. Bowling selection, Jayant Yadav, he may as well have played anybody else, right? Like, didn't really do much. Not his fault, because all the wickets were taken by other people.
Yeah, and it comes down to the role your captain wants you to play. But I think it's interesting you said Mayank got off to a start and didn't really convert. I think other than 2 of the guys, every single one of our top 8 got a start. Right? So Mayank made 33, Hanuma made 58, Kohli made 45. We were hoping for at least a half century, if not a century, in his 100th test, but obviously it wasn't to be. Shreyas made 27. We had 2 highlights in Pant and Jadeja, who I'll come to. But I skipped one name, and I want to ask you quickly about the skipper, Rohit, right? What is the thinking? What is the strategic intent when you're 29 off of 27, batting at over a run ball, just smashing everything? And then, anybody can tell you, put a deep backward square leg and bowl it short term, and he's going to try to pull it, and he might get 1 4, 2 4s, 3 4s, a couple 6s, and then he'll get out, right? How predictable is he becoming in Test cricket? And I'm a big fan of Rohit. He's done great. I feel like he's earned his permanent opener slot, etc. But at some point, you got to stop hitting that pull shot, right? And like hitting it straight down the neck of that fielder.
Yeah, I think there's been 4 or 5 occasions in recent memory that he's done that. He's done it in Australia, just before the close of play, if I'm not wrong, in one of the test matches. Maybe it was Sydney. He's done it in England. I think he did that at Lord's. He's done it here again, and I'm sure there are a couple of other occasions where he's been bounced out. I think he averages about 27 with that shot now, which it's not really good enough. But I'm not sure he has another option, so he's going to carry on playing it. Is he going to change his game? He's known to be good against the short ball. The only thing I'd say is that as you get older, your reflexes get slower. Your back rotates a bit slower. Your hands move a bit slower. As I'll find out when my cricket season starts again, that everything takes a fraction of a second more. And at that level, that's all it takes, right? So maybe it's something that Rohit needs to look into eventually. But at the moment, I can't see him backing down, particularly in Indian pitches. I think he'd back himself to hit that over the fence more often than not. So if he can average over 50 for that shot, I think he'll continue to play it. It's a game of averages for him, right? Like he knows he's going to get out a few times because it is risky because he hits it up in the air.
Yeah.
But
sure.
If he gets away with it 6 times, or he's only getting away with it 5 times right now. He gets away with it 8 or 9 times, that he's going to average 50 with that shot. So it's a percentages game for him.
Yeah, fair. So not a lot to write home about. A good 50 by Hanuman. Let's give credit where it's due. He unfortunately got bowled unexpectedly. I think it was an inside edge. But let's talk a little bit about our middle to lower order, which has not historically been a strength. But gosh, hey, Rishabh Pant, 96 off 97. Just everything you want from that guy. I think, and you're going to think this is a controversial statement, but I think he's, despite how young he is, about ready to cement his claim as India's strongest test wicketkeeper batsman maybe ever, right? Can we argue with that stats? Yeah.
No, you can't. He's the best. He's the best wicketkeeper batter that we've had in the.
We're about 30 minutes in, and you haven't talked about Dhoni. Oh no, did you talk? You talked about Dhoni when you talked about Mithali. So he already came.
Well done. Good.
You couldn't help yourself.
I can't. I mean, it all comes back to MS. But I mean, no, there's no question. He's got 100 in South Africa. He's got 100 in Australia. He's got 100 in England.
England, yeah.
He's got a great 100 at Ahmedabad to get us into the World Test Championship final.
And he's got
590s.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's the only thing you can fault here, right? Like, he did not get 100, but his acceleration from 50 to 97 took 19 balls, Ashwin.
Unbelievable.
It took him 19 balls in a test match. And we're just sitting there going, what switch is flipped in his head?
Yeah, he just went for it.
What's he done?
He walked in at 170 for 3. Quickly went to 175 for 4. So you're thinking, okay, the score is not that bad, but in India you want to be making 350, 400 plus. And he started well. Shreyas then got out, but he was 228 for 5, and then he just went ballistic.
Yeah,
he just went ballistic
because one more wicket there, and you're 6 down for 220, 230, and you're looking at. I don't know, you're looking at being bowled out under 300 after winning the toss and batting first. Mm-hmm. But he just took it away.
But you say that. Full credit to Rishabh Pant. Great knock. Wish he had made the century. But when we were 6 down, it was 332. And before we lost our 7th wicket, it was 462. Seventh wicket partnership of 130 runs. Thanks in large part to a fantastic 50 from Ravi Ashwin, making 61 off 82 balls. Looked good. There was at least one straight drive he hit that felt like it was such a betting out there. Let's be like high backlift on the elbow, just great technique, held the pose. But of course, we have to talk about the man. The first man ever to score 175 and take 9 wickets in a match. 175 not out of 228 balls. Like, we have talked a lot on this show about how he is the key piece of the puzzle as an all-rounder for India and across all 3 formats. He may be one of the first or second names that walks into this side now, in all 3 formats. And of course, I'm talking about Ravindra Jadeja. How phenomenal was that knock, DJ? Started a little iffy, He got a little lucky. He had one drop catch, but man, he made his opportunity count. 175 not out. The shocker only is what happened that the skipper didn't let him go out there for an extra 10 or 12 balls and try to hit his way to a double.
Apparently, he declared himself. Jadeja did.
Yeah,
It's a
but
little
if you
bit like
watch
when
the footage, you watch the footage, Rohit is calling them back. Like Jadeja was out there.
Yeah.
So at what point did he tell his captain, I want to declare? Anyway, that's
You're
a different
creating
discussion.
controversy. You're a Viratian, creating
That's what
controversy
we
with
do.
the
This is what we-
Rohitians.
Honestly, like Rahul, this is not the first time Rahul Dravid would have prevented somebody getting a milestone. A little. But let's talk. Like, why would you declare it 175 not out?
It's
give him a
tough.
couple
It's
of-
tough to
And by
fathom.
the way,
Actually, It's
apparently
tough
the
to
logic
fathom.
was let's get a few overs to bowl
Yeah,
at the
you had a
short
whole
before tea. But
session.
no, but the idea was let's get a few overs before tea, see if we can get one or wicket. And then they called tea as soon
2
as they
days
declared.
left.
It's just-
2 days left when we won by the end of it. But last week I compared him to Yuvraj Singh. I'm going to test you. I'm going to ask you a quiz question. What was Yuvraj Singh's highest test score?
Dude, there is no way I know the answer to this.
Yuvi's highest test
There's
score was
no-
169.
Jadeja 175 not out. Do you remember, by the way, we are celebrating 4 years of edges and sledges. In year one, I used to talk about how Jadeja has 2 triples in the Ranji Trophy
Three?
level. And 3 triples at the Ranji Trophy level. And you used to laugh at me, saying, great, he's a great bowler, but he doesn't justify his spot in the team for batting. Like,
But he didn't
much has-
because
I
he used
agree,
to
but-
play
but
these
look at
little
where he's come.
cameos. His
But look at how
greatest
far
innings,
he's come.
when we spoke about his greatest innings, was that 50 he got at Lords when the first time we saw that sword celebration, right?
Yeah, we saw it
We
twice
never
today.
s-
He thought about doing it at 150, but I think he got a little gut
He
shot,
got a
saying,
bit
"I don't wanna do
embarrassed.
it."
He's like, I should save my wrists for bowling. But yeah, I mean, magnificent, right? And you spoke a little bit at the start saying how our lower middle order hasn't been our strength. Let's be clear, that's abroad. At home, you've got Rishabh Pant, Ravichandran Ashwin, Ravindra Jadeja, even Jayant Yadav has scored 100, batting at like number 8 or something. Umesh Yadav has scored 50s. So a lot of the reason for success that we've had at home has been that lower middle order coming out and scoring big runs. Ashwin has 5 test centuries, right? Including against England on a pitch that was apparently not fit for test cricket or whatever. And Ashwin scored 120 on that. So a lot of our successes at home has been that. But the special thing about Jadeja now is that success is coming abroad. We saw it in England. We've seen a little bit of it in Australia as well. And he's basically he's batted with the tail a lot. He's learned to bat with the tail. And I think the turning point for him was that 86 odd he got at the Oval in the 2018 tour of England. He got 86 at the Oval batting with the tail, and he's been magnificent milking the strike. I mean, okay, let's also be honest, like Sri Lanka isn't the strongest opposition, right? They were bowler down. I think Lahiru Kumara went down in the first day. That selection was probably pretty bad in terms of the bowling combination. Embuldennia was bowled into the ground and then smashed out of the ground by Rishabh Pant. So by the time Jadeja came in, it all looked pretty. They looked pretty flat. So it was not the greatest innings, but 175 in Indian cricket is like folklore. Like 175 not out as who? It's a Kapil Dev number, right? And Jadeja is now, and maybe this is the controversial statement, Jadeja is now staking his claim to being perhaps in the same league as Kapil Dev as a bowler and a batsman. As a genuine all-rounder, fantastic in the field, so was Kapil. Brilliant with the ball, 9 wickets and first man in the history of the game. There's only 3 people, I think, that have taken 10 wickets and scored 100. Imran Khan, who's the others? I've forgotten who the others are.
Gary Sobers, I think.
Ian Botham is probably one of them, and maybe
probably
Sobers, or maybe there are only
Sobers,
2. I can't remember. But Imran Khan and Ian Botham were pretty good, right? And if Jadeja had taken 1 more wicket, or if Ashwin had let him take 1 more wicket, he would have gone past both of those guys.
Yeah, unbelievable. Let me ask you, and again, we can go on a long tangent about this. Do we as the cricketing world treat spinning all-rounders less or revere them less than we treat quick bowling all-rounders, right? Because when you think about all-rounders, you think of Imran Khan, you think of Kapil Dev, you
Hadley,
think
both
of course, Ben Stokes, modern day, Hadley, both of them. You don't always think about sobers. You don't always think about, players like Jadeja. So what is it about it? Because if we look at stats, and there's been a lot of coverage, Stokes has a slightly better batting average than Jadeja, but Jadeja has a much better bowling average. And yet we haven't maybe till this match thought about them in the same league, right? So do you want to talk to me about that a little?
But I think Jadeja's just gone ahead of Stokes after this innings, which 179, 5 not out will inflate your average a bit.
Sure,
but the third person, Ashwin, and this is probably just proving your point. The third person who has 110 wickets in a match, I've just remembered, is Shakib Al Hasan.
Yeah, like why do we not think about him? As
it
one of
actually
the
goes to proving your point.
Yes, it absolutely proved.
Right.
Why did I mention him as well? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the third person. I've gone Botham. I've gone Imran Khan.
Yeah.
And then I've totally blanked on the third name. And I'm like, maybe there's only 2 names, but the third name is Shakib Al Hasan, and he's staring you in the face. But yeah, maybe you are right. Maybe we don't. Maybe there is that double standard in the minds of cricket fans. In the week where the world's greatest ever spinner has passed away, maybe we need to acknowledge that spinning all-rounders are greater, if not better, than some of the quick bowling all-rounders. And I mean, I guess some of it comes from they can bowl more overs. They don't get as tired bowling the long spells and stuff. But I mean, Jadeja came on in the first innings after wickets had fallen. Similarly in the second innings, and there were left-handers at the crease. It didn't matter. Jadeja just took wickets, and he's done that for years. He was the number 1 bowler for a long time in the world. Not all-rounder, but I genuinely think he's now getting up there with Kapil Dev in that echelon of amazing Indian all-rounders. हम हार्दिक पांड्या में ढूंढ रहे थे और जडेजा हमारा वहां इंतजार कर रहा है.
Exactly, seriously.
Basically. And massive congratulations to Ravichandran Ashwin as well for going past Kapil Dev's test record of 434 test wickets. He's now only he's only got Anil Kumble ahead of him at the moment. So he's the second highest wicket taker for India in test cricket history. So congratulations to Ravichandran Ashwin.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And well said. And so not a lot else to talk about. Great knock. I mean, you talk about batting with the tail, and really quickly, when Shami walked out, we were at a 471 and we made 574. So he put on 103 runs with Shami, of which Shami only made 20, right? He made probably 80 odd minus some extras here and there. So phenomenal, but not a lot else to say, right? Sri Lanka gets off to a reasonable start, 90, 100 odd for 3. And then they start getting, losing wickets, including Jadeja picking up the last 2 in the final over the innings to get them all out, not just get them all out, but to pick up his 5-for and to get Sri Lanka dismissed for 174, right? Something poetic about getting the entire team out for 1 run less than he made alone.
He also took 1 more wicket in the match than Sri Lanka did in the entire match as well.
Yeah, Sri Lanka it's 8. Unbelievable. Yeah, Sri Lanka got 8 wickets. And there's a great article, by the way, by Andrew Fidel Fernando on ESPN Cricket Info. If you haven't read it, I'll send it to you. But it's a little bit satire, it's a little bit humor, but it's a little bit sad. But it's a good article. But DJ, India put Sri Lanka in to follow on, and not expectedly, transparently, I thought, okay, this will be done early to midday 4. And by the time I woke up, I said, oh, match is over. Obviously because the match starts at 10 p.m. my time, so I didn't get to watch the follow on. But the match was done, right? Of course, Ashwin and Jadeja picked up 4 wickets each in that second innings. Second innings, Shami showed up, picked up 2 wickets in just 8 overs, and nothing much to write home about. And so the last thing I'll ask you, because we're going to run well short of time here, but the strategy to send Sri Lanka in again, right? You're midday on day 3. Arguably, you can sit back and say we finished off on day 3, great. But in a 2-match series, strategy would sometimes dictate, hey, you want to, when the team is a bowler short, you want to grind them into the ground, really exhaust them, right? They've just come out here, bowled 130 odd overs to India. They only batted 60 something overs. Go out to bat again, bat another full day if you can. Get to a stupid unassailable lead. Give your batsmen some more time. And then you give yourself a day and a half to get them out. So by the time they're walking out to the second test, they have no energy left. Rohit chose to go different, and Kohli arguably did that. I can't remember a lot of times Kohli enforced a follow-on. He usually didn't want to bat fourth. And so Rohit did that. So is that another signal of the changing of the guard and a change in strategy for Team India?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. You're on day 3. You could have batted till day 4. You could have batted to the end of day 3. And then you could have put them in. Their injured bowler wouldn't have come back. Here you risked actually, I think you were 400 runs ahead, but what if there was a blinder of an innings, like a VVS Lakshman Rahul Dravid type of partnership? And the pitch wasn't bad for batting. It was not doing crazy things. It was staying a little bit low. It was turning a bit. So there was, but Rohit's just backed his bowlers to deliver it, and they have. I mean, he said, "You're good enough. You're not going to let them get 400. We're going to run through them again," and they did absolutely. I mean, the conspiracy theorists would say he didn't want to get Kohli back in and let him get 100 in his 100 Test match, but that's all going to be nonsense, right? Like, it was an aggressive move. There was no need for them to enforce the follow-on, but I kind of liked it. I was like, go for the jugular, finish this off. Let's go home, have a couple of days of rest. Surprisingly, Bumrah played his 3rd Test match. I didn't talk about that actually. He bowled a beautiful slow ball that took a wicket. I think he got Asalanka, maybe. Bowled of a no ball, which I thought was actually the best ball of the Test match.
It was phenomenal, and he was celebrating like
brilliant. He did his like Tom and Jerry celebration as well, which was pretty funny. But yeah, it was pretty clinical performance, pretty flawless almost, I would say. The only thing I wish Jadeja had got his 10th. It just lets you, like, Pant would have got his 100 and like Jadeja would have got his 10th, and that would have been like the perfect Test match. And Kohli would have got his 100. Okay, maybe I'm asking for too much.
Yeah, now you're stretching.
Just keep asking for more, right?
Anyway, phenomenal Test match. Congratulations to the boys. Pretty big day yesterday night and Saturday night, my time at the time of recording, because Indian women pulled off a great win. Indian men pulled off a win. DJ, we're well over time, but last couple things. Australia-Pakistan's going on. I'll just quickly run through. We're at the stumps on day 3. Doesn't actually look like we'll get a result here transparently, but it's at Rawalpindi, which I will always remember for Rahul Dravid's 270, I think it was. Just a phenomenal knock.
Not bad.
Phenomenal. But I don't remember a lot of things. But Pakistan batted first, 476 for 4 declared. Imamul Haq made a phenomenal 157. Azhar Ali 185. Just a great partnership. Wore Australia's bowlers down. Nathan Lyon bowled 50 overs for just the 1 wicket. Hazelwood picked up none. Stark picked up none. Cummins picked up 1. They ended up using 8 bowlers. Travis Head bowled. Cameron Green bowled. Steve Smith picked up a ball. So very interesting strategy. But of course, Australia's bounced back with the bat. Usman Khwaja made 97. So Rishabh Pant just missed out. David Warner made a 50, and Labuschagne and Smith are batting. So it looks like this will drag on for a little, and I'm predicting no result. So, but good to see marquee Test cricket happening in Pakistan again.
I think you'll be surprised. I think there will be a result. This is how these Test matches go. It's going to meander to the evening of the 4th day, and then we'll explode into life on the last day and a half.
Let's hope so. I'm hoping it'll be good cricket. But DJ, right before we wrap, a lot of other news happening in the world of cricket. I have to ask you, it's been a little bit of a strange, I see you laughing already. For those of you not watching on YouTube, you can't see DJ's face, but I want to ask you a little bit about what's happening in this Saha Gate, as you called it, I think.
But it's been renamed.
What's Boria Gate?
It's called Yupu Gate.
Yupu. YPU.
YPU
of course,
Gate.
There was a typo. But I mean, really quickly, just to walk our listeners through what happened. Saha obviously posted a screenshot about being, I want to say harassed, but a little bit of like, not great treatment by journalists, and a little bit of threatening, etc. And just yesterday, at the time of recording this, Boria Majumdar has released a video, an 8-minute video, which I have to say transparently, I didn't watch all of it. I was reading about it because 8 minutes is too long for me these days. But
he says as he records a 45-minute podcast. Great.
That's true. I mean, I don't have to listen to this, right? We have great listeners.
So Varun and you don't listen to it. By the way, Varun,
no, I do listen, but I don't
on vacation in the Maldives. So we've excused him for another week.
Yeah, but he's got to be back next week. Let's be clear.
He has to be.
Right?
Otherwise, what happens?
I don't know. Let's not discuss.
So
it.
we can't even threaten him because he doesn't even listen to the show.
He'll listen to it. I'm sure he'll listen to it. But yeah, like, what's your reaction to this whole Boria thing? Because first, Saha didn't actually name him yet, but Saha did release his name to authorities, right? So Boria proactively wanted to respond. Then there's all sorts of things about him showing missed calls and WhatsApp screenshots, which don't show up the right way, and also all sorts of junk. So just really quickly, DJ, because I'm gonna have to wrap us up here in 2 minutes or so. Like, really quickly, what is happening in Indian cricket right now?
Boria's gone all Bomkesh Bakshi, dude. That's what's
Honestly,
happened.
dude, it's unbelievable.
He's gone on
doing sleuthing and
investigative. And I'm like, okay, so the thing that really struck me is like Saha has inserted a missed call into this screenshot. So it says at one point missed voice call 7:30 p.m. That's the screenshot that Saha has put up.
Yep.
So Ashwin, when I call you, right?
I get a missed call.
You get a missed call.
What shows on your end?
Nothing shows on my end on WhatsApp.
Why would it show you a missed call in your WhatsApp?
The real screenshot which Boria needs to produce is his call history to Ridhiman Saha.
Yeah, but you can delete calls also, I'm sure. I don't know. Can you delete a call?
I'm sure you can. But I mean, that was the first thing that struck me in this. Okay. I don't know why Saha has removed the date, but I don't think there's anything.
I mean, I just called you before we started, but I can delete that. So
yeah, but can you go into call history? Can you go into call history and see when you've called me?
History.
Yeah.
I'm in my call history.
Yeah.
And it shows that I just called you before you recorded this. And now we're doing investigative journalism. But I just deleted it. So now your phone may show that I called you, but mine shows no outgoing call to you. So anyway, I don't know how we'll resolve this. Hopefully somebody smarter than us will figure it out. But it's just ridiculous. It's just sad, right?
Yeah, it is sad. I mean, it's... Look, like for a long time, there has been a breakdown between the press and players. The players have their own way of reaching the public. They don't need to go through the press anymore. So the press has got to find other sources. They've got to find other scoop stories. So it's all like cloak and dagger. So where in the, let's say, the Vijay Lokpalli generation, we've spoken to Vijay sir on the show before, they all sort of got along and they kept each other's counsel and they kept each other's secrets. If there was something said off the record, it stayed off the record. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, because the players don't need the press to go through to reach out to the public anymore and to fix their perception or to get a message to the public. So there has been a general breakdown of relations with the press. That much I think is clear. You've got lots of people. You've got I don't want to name names, but there are plenty of people who've got sources, who've got an inside track and leak information even before it is announced by the BCCI themselves, right? So quite tricky. I mean, I suppose we fall within the journalistic I won't say profession, because we don't really do this for a living, but I suppose we fall in some. So you've got to have an ethical code, right? And like telling people that you don't take insults kindly and I will never interview you again, to pick the person who's going to help you the most. It's all a little bit. It
just rubs you the wrong way, right?
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just there's too much. It's been politicized, even like journalism, and cricket is big business in India, right? So that's why it is like having the ear of the right administrators, the right players is what will make you a successful journalist in India now.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. We enjoy it a little. We have a good laugh, but it's sad more than anything. And
yeah, but let's be honest. If you and I were doing this for a living, we would be doing the same thing. Like we'd be trying to get the best stories. We'd be trying to, So it is what it is, and it's not nice though. It has a real effect on people.
Yeah. Again, it's just sad. So let's hope more details come out and hope we can start working our way towards a cleaner game of cricket, so that the athletes and the fans and all of us get to enjoy it more fun. But
this is also fun. I mean, it is funny though. I mean, like
that's what I mean. It's
as
funny,
bystanders, it's amusing.
Yeah, it's amusing.
But there are deeper issues with the whole thing.
Absolutely right. So anyway, that's about as good a point as we can. We went a little bit longer than we liked, but it was a great discussion. Lots happening. Again, started the week with disappointing news on Shane Warne, but great performances for Team India. And yeah, lots happening as always. Never a dull moment. DJ, I'll be watching the Women's World Cup most of this week because the next test match kicks off Saturday.
Day
And
and night
before we
test
know it,
match. Day and
day
night
night
test
pink
match in
ball test
Bangalore.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah, pink ball in Bangalore. So that'll be great to see. And yeah, before we know it, we will be into IPL season. The schedule has just come out today. It kicks off with CSK versus KKR on the 26th of March. It's going to be great. As always,
I'm going to
we
be in
love hearing from
India
you.
for one of those games.
Oh,
So
you
I'm hoping to
absolutely
catch
should
it
go
in
watch one.
Bombay.
Maybe do something live from the ground. We'll see if we can do something fun with edges and sledges. But as always, write into us at One Tip One Hand, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Contact at onetiponehand.com if you want to email us. We love hearing from all of you. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Signing off. We will see you next week.
IVM IVM